Italis, the owner-broker of Strategic Realty in Wichita Falls, Texas, where we call home base. How you doing, Lou?
I'm doing good.
It's
happy it's Friday.
yeah, Friday. Yes, when we're doing this day, it's Friday, and we're so glad for it. And fall weather finally moving in on us. It feels a lot better. Give those air conditioning bills a little bit of a reprieve.
Mm-hmm.
Give our bank accounts a little bit of a reprieve from the air conditioning bills, I guess. But
Yep.
well,
Back to wearing my boots and my long sleeve shirt.
Well, a couple things to talk about this week. The foreclosure moratorium
Has been lifted.
That's after nearly 2 years, it feels like, of this. Several months back to back of this moratorium, and there's maybe a bit of a backlog that's been created, but talk to us a little bit about that, about what changes have happened, what we can expect moving forward, kind of what's the situation today, and what are you thinking it's going to look like in the next, in the coming months, let's say.
Well, I've talked to the REO, some of the REO asset managers, and they're saying that yes, that there is going to be a bit of an influx of it's going to take a while for all of the inventory that they have stockpiled, basically, to be released, obviously. But we're not thinking that it's going to be as drastic as it was in 08 and 09 because there's a lot of homeowners that have taken advantage of the foreclosure forbearance. That's what it's called. So there are going to be usually what happens is I get about 10 to 20 REO listings every month, regardless.
Right.
And it could go, as high as sometimes 30. But since we haven't seen that for 2 years, there's all of that backlog.
Yeah. And
the asset managers were telling me that usually if you get 10 to 20, now we've been seeing about 50 every month that's getting assigned to them.
Wow. Okay.
So, and it's just because of the backlog.
Yeah.
So once that backlog gets the inventory starts to get cleared out, then we're hopefully we're going to be going back to the same old
normal level.
Yeah, normal level.
Yeah. But it probably will take some time to get that whittled down, won't it? I
think so. I think it's going to be about 6 months to a year before we start to see some sort of semblance of normal.
That long, huh?
I think so because foreclosures take a long time. It's a lengthy process. It's not something easy to do.
Well, it's a legal procedure. You're going
right. Yeah. The banks that they have to sell the asset to Fannie Mae first, and then Fannie Mae has to ascertain who's living in the property or if it's vacant. And then once that happens, then there's the cash for keys, or if the occupant doesn't approve that cash for keys offer, then we go to eviction.
Wow. So that whole process, it takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
Could take several months, in fact, depending on how fast all of the other elements in the process move, I guess.
And then once I get the asset, once I get the actual, it's already unoccupied and we've had our inspections and stuff like that, it's up to Fannie Mae as well on how much of a rehab we're going to be doing on the property, or if we're going to be selling it as is. So, that can take, another 3 or 4 months before that property actually gets listed.
Yeah, let me ask you, that brings up an interesting point. So let's say Fannie Mae's got this property and you go in, you do an inspection, and you find that it's been trashed. Because I've heard of this.
Yeah, if it's completely trashed, then Fannie Mae can determine what's the cost of the rehab and what would be the property value right now as is. And if they can't reconcile, if it doesn't make any sense, if their percentages aren't in line with what they're wanting to do, or what they need to clear in order to get that property out of their inventory, they may sell it as is, or they may rehab it. Just depends on how much that cost is.
Got it. Okay. So they'll make some determination on that, and then if it's being sold as is, because I've heard a few horror stories, about properties that you walk in and the previous owner, perhaps in a fit of anger.
It can be heartbreaking. It can be totally heartbreaking. I've seen it all.
Yeah. One of our guests previously, one of our inspector guests, I can't remember which one it was now. We've had 2 or 3 of them on. Talked about they've even found where they've put cement mix down the toilet.
That was in California, I think, that they were starting to do something. You know, they were. This
Who
is
would-
during the California craze or the bubble when it burst in '09. People were doing some horrible things to these homes.
That's just
and
evil.
Making it, making
That's
it
evil.
basically worthless house.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Well,
they were mad at the banks or whatever.
yeah.
And you know what? I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, you know, the bank didn't force you to buy that
No,
property.
they didn't put you in this situation.
Yeah.
No one put a gun to your head and made you do this, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's-
And you know,
yeah.
doo-doo occurs. You know, I wanted to say the other one.
That's
but,
a radio friendly word, right?
Yeah, there you
Yes,
go.
yes, it is. But anyway, so big changes coming there, and I guess the big difference between back in 08 and 09, you know, we had you didn't have the forbearance in 08 and 09.
Correct.
You didn't
Yeah,
have that.
that's the big difference. So there's a lot of owner occupants that are actually able to get out of this little pickle. The main thing that we're seeing right now with Fannie Mae is that they've changed their platform. The way that they offer these properties and put it on the market has changed a little bit.
Okay.
Foreclosures, usually the foreclosure companies like HUD, VA, well, I'm not sure about VA. I don't know that VA has a website, but at least HUD and Fannie Mae, they have a website where you can actually go to and look at all the properties that are in their inventory. And HUD would be HUD Home Store, and Fannie Mae is Home Path. So when you go to those websites, you can pull up their inventory and you can see which properties you want to buy or which ones you want to take a look at. Well, they changed it now to where, and it used to be where an agent would create their own profile and they would be able to make offers directly on the website. Well, now they've changed it to Home Path. The buyer actually has to create a profile. They can't make the offer on their own. They still have to identify an agent. And then the agent would also need to go in there and create a profile. So if you had a Home Path profile as a real estate agent, you're going to have to go in there and do it again because they've cleaned it all out. It's a totally different website now.
They've started from scratch.
Yeah, I don't know why, but you know, this is the federal government. What can we do?
Hey, come on! Why not reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
You know, why not?
Yeah, and they've also changed. I mean, a buyer still can't buy a property directly without using a real estate agent, so that hasn't changed. And the other thing that's changed is usually with federally backed loans, and if they go from VA, well, I'm not sure about VA. I keep saying VA, but I'm really 100% sure. HUD and Fannie Mae for sure. If you're interested in purchasing a property from one of those two entities, they have what's called Fannie Mae has, it's called First Look. And usually during that time frame, only owner occupants or homeowners that are planning on homesteading the property are allowed to make an offer on those properties.
Okay.
So it used to be like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. Well, Fannie Mae has changed it from 20 days to now 30 days. So homeowners actually have a little bit more time to look at these properties. It's a first look process, and have the opportunity to buy these properties, because it used to be where investors, they would just come in and they would just snap everything up. And then it didn't give homeowners or owner occupants an opportunity to buy something that's a little bit below market value, or you know, that maybe needed a little bit of work and still was livable. So
during that 30 days, as the buyer, you can actually place a bid on the property.
Yes, whether it's live-in ready or not, you can still, I mean, if you can get the loan, if you can get a conventional loan or something like that, or if you want to buy for cash, you can purchase the property. You just have a certain amount of time. There's different guidelines. So you have to get on the website and kind of do a little bit of research. But Fannie Mae has a 90-day, like once you purchase the property, let's say you were going to buy a property and you're going to live in the property, you pay $100,000 and you buy this property and you're going to be living in it. Well, Fannie Mae will give you 90 days to make that property livable.
Really? Okay.
And if it's not already livable. So you can invest in getting a property that's needs a little work.
Okay.
As an owner, you just have to be able to get the backing behind it.
Okay.
So FHA and VA have certain guidelines that will not allow you to buy homes that are not move-in ready.
Right.
They used to, back in the day, they used to have they used to have loans that you could actually buy something if it needed a few repairs, and it was a different type of Fannie Mae loan.
Yeah.
But they don't really. Those are very rare now. You
Hmm.
don't get those much.
Okay. So a lot of changes to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in terms of for the agent side of things, in terms of the commissions, because commissions are in any other transaction are a negotiable thing, but they actually have a fixed rate that they're going to pay you, right? They have a
With government properties, yes, you're going to get whatever it is that they want to offer, and usually I don't want to misspeak here because they might change that on me. You never know. But it used to be 2.5%. For the buyer's agent, and then if and no less than $1,500 or $1,000 or something like that. But I don't know; they may have changed it.
So there was a minimum. There was a minimum you were going to collect one way or another.
Yeah, exactly. So if the property is less than, let's say $20,000, if it's $20,000, you're still going to get $1,000. If it's $25,000, you're still going to get $1,000 in commission.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they haven't. If they have changed that, hopefully they've improved that, not made it worse.
Oh, God only knows.
Just one more little detail we got to dig into there, I guess.
Yeah.
But
well,
anyway,
I'll let you know if something happens, because I'm sure we're going to start seeing properties here.
Oh, I bet we will.
I've already had a couple of listings. I actually had one that was very interesting that got assigned to me last week.
Really?
And yeah, it was apparently it had sold at the court steps.
Okay.
And somehow or another, whether it was just a miscommunication or a misfiling or something like that, it got sent to Fannie Mae, and they had me go out to the property and do the occupancy check. And
okay.
I went out there; it was occupied, and they're like, "No, we're owner financing it from XYZ." And I was like, oh, no, this is a scam. Hopefully, I was so worried about it. I was like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out it wasn't a scam. He actually did buy it at the court steps for cash. It was just a miscommunication somehow or another.
Oh.
And so it got taken back. No, it's no longer going to be listed because it is for sale. It was already the asset was already taken care of. So there, I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot of glitches a little bit.
Well, and it just seems like the more the government agencies try to play with this stuff and improve everything, they tend to not improve it so much as they do just muddy the water. So
yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully we don't have a lot of that. Hopefully we don't. Let's talk a little bit about the construction side of things. Do you see that getting better? Is it looking better? I know lumber prices are down a little bit.
Lumber prices are starting to go down. The only thing that I'm kind of worried about right now is our supply chain.
Yeah.
And I know we've been hearing about it a lot in the news, and it may not apply right now, but I have a feeling that some of our supply, like our, stoves and refrigerators, are, just regular consumer stuff appliances and fixtures and stuff like that, we're going to probably have to get a little creative with that.
Well, so much of that stuff is imported.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we have a problem supply chain wise with cargo ships that are sitting offshore waiting to be unloaded, but we can't get them unloaded. You don't have people on the docks to unload the ships. California in Los Angeles, the port there, the big problem they seem to be facing there is not just workers at the docks to unload ships, but also the trucking issue, because you've got regulations apparently in California on trucking that are making it difficult for some operators to operate in the state of California. You couple that with already a shortage of drivers.
Nobody wants to work right now.
Oh man, and you've got kind of a perfect storm here of trouble, because the supply chain is getting choked now, not because stuff's not being produced.
They're just not letting it in the country.
You just can't get it unloaded. You can't get it shipped out fast enough. And so it's become the supply chain is getting kinked really bad right now. And so what do you do? How do you deal with it? At some point, something has to give. At some point, these products that are sitting there on these ships waiting to get into the country are going to have to get into the country. It would seem to me that going down, looking down the road in the next 5, 10, 15 years, a better option is going to be, we need more stuff that's made here
Local.
or closer to here, so that it's easier to get our hands on, so that you don't run into these issues.
Don't like to work.
And that's going to have to. That's an attitude problem, and that's going to have to change. I mean, we're going to have to get back to work. We have to. We just have to do it. I mean, you can't run an economy on robots alone. You got to have people, for crying out loud.
Well, I think the problem too is just the cost of living has exponentially doubled and grown over the last few years.
Yes, it has.
And so people can't really afford to work for $10-15 an hour.
Well, and of course the thing
and
about
make the things that need to get made. I mean, it's just, and then they and then everybody's starting to really freak out about all the immigration that's going on, all the immigrants that are crossing the border and stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, I don't agree with immigration, illegal immigrants and stuff like that. You should come to the country legally, but we kind of need that workforce in this country.
I think right now there's so much disorganization, so much confusion.
If we were coming in here legally and getting jobs, I mean, we should be able to allow people to come into our country and work.
But that
because
gets. I mean,
we need that.
That's a process that Washington's got to fix.
Yeah.
And right now
you don't have these people that are like crossing the border illegally. If we made the process of coming into the country less hostile, then we would take the jobs away from all these traffickers.
Well, again, it's I think you get into policy issues that they have to fix in Washington, and there's got to be you got to have leadership there that's willing to do that. And right now, I don't think we do, and I don't think that's something that's going to get fixed anytime soon. We've been dealing with this for longer than you and I've been alive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
this has been a problem, and but that's something at a leadership level that's going to have to be fixed. But you got to have people in place that want to fix that. But in the here and now, I think the short term answer, for example, let's take California. You got these regulations on trucking that are hampering things. Maybe it's time to start looking at rolling some regulations back.
Didn't Trump do a lot of that stuff? He took a lot of that regulation, deregulated the trade.
Well, this is stuff happening at the state level. So this is stuff happening at the state level that the state of California needs to handle. As far as the employment situation, getting people back to work, getting people back on the employment rolls. I got to be honest. With you. I don't know what's going to change it. I think there was a time when you could just throw more money at it, and that would fix it, at least short term. I don't think that's fixing it, because now you've got, let's take, for example, restaurants. You've got restaurants that are offering people $10, $12, $14 an hour to come in and be cooks in restaurants, and they can't hire them. They can't get people to come in and even apply, and they're paying more than they've ever paid before. But that doesn't seem to be fixing the problem. The other side of this is where I'm going to put on my economy major hat for a minute here, economics major. When you increase the wages, you go across let's say you raise the minimum wage, say make it $20 an hour. Well, great, but the problem is you're going to build into that is going to be some inflation, because prices are going to have to go up, because you reach a point where the employer, the merchant, the seller, the business end of it can no longer absorb the cost of it.
Right.
They're going to have to pass that on to the consumer.
Yeah, and then that's going to increase the price, and then they're going to need to have more money, and they're going to need to have more. Now
you're right back where you started.
It's just like a vicious cycle. Yeah. There's really. I think that there's a simple solution. Everybody just needs to get back to work. If everybody just went back to work, I think that in the long term, a lot of these things would kind of resolve themselves, because now we would have the workforce, and now, the money would be there. They wouldn't need any more government handouts. We wouldn't need to raise the ceiling, the debt ceiling.
And that's a whole other argument. I mean, it really is. Talk about raising the debt ceiling. Now, let's bring this down to a perspective that you and I and our audience can understand. So, if your household has expenses of $5,000, but your income is $4,000, what's your obvious choice?
Not spend so much.
Not spend so much. You cut expenses.
Yeah.
Right. You can't just magically go out and come up with more money. You might be able to earn more money, but
well, basically, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're spending $5,000, but we're only getting $4,000. So every month we're going to borrow $2,000
exactly
from a bank to be able to pay our expenses and have a little extra.
We can't do that,
and you can't sustain that. I mean,
No.
it's just not sustainable in
No.
the long term. Because that's not gonna. You're never gonna. I mean, it's like going under on a foreclosure.
Right.
Once you stop paying
Right.
for 3 months, it's almost impossible
Yeah.
for an owner occupant to recover from that. I
Right.
mean, it's just unless they have like a big, huge chunk of money headed their way.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. From an economic standpoint, it creates a very nervous situation. One thing that business doesn't like is uncertainty. Business owners, corporations, I don't care whether you're talking about a company that employs 2 people or a company that employs 20,000 people. You don't like uncertainty. Uncertainty makes you very nervous, and it makes it hard for you to predict, well, what are we going to do in 6 months or a year? Where are we going to be? Where is our business going to be in 6 months or a year or 2 years? You like to be able to forecast with a little bit of certainty that certain things are going to be, if not constant, at least consistent.
Yeah.
At least there's going to be some consistency. Right now, there's a lot of inconsistency and a lot of uncertainty in all the markets. And everything right now seems to be so centered around, well, we need to pay more for this. Let's bring it back down to the real estate end of things. How hard has it been for some of these contractors to find help? I mean, I hear it all the time.
It fluctuates so much. It's just crazy. I mean, we'll get one contractor and then they don't want to do the next 2 because we got 16 more homes to build over there.
Yeah, and I had a roof put on it.
Changed contractors on a variety of things. Building the 7 houses that we've already built, we've changed. I mean, we're not using the same contractor that we started with.
Well, and that's out of necessity that you're not just doing it because you want to. It just you're kind of in a have-to situation. I had a roof put on several months ago.
Don't show up one day, and it's like
Well, I had a roof put on several months ago, and it took them a while. Now, mind you, it was after a storm. There was a lot of work to do. It was that situation, but it took them a while to get to my job, to get to my house. And I'm talking to the guys that are doing the bidding and all this kind of stuff that are out there, crunching the numbers and everything. And I asked him, I said, why is it taking so long to get any of this done? He said, it is down to a manpower situation. We just don't have enough people.
And there's only a certain amount of companies that are still working full force.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, it's nuts to me that 18 months after this hot mess began, we still have companies that are not back to 100%. And there are some companies that have gone away and are never coming back. There are some businesses that have closed and are never coming back. But from our perspective, when it comes to the construction side of things, it gets frustrating because you've got they're waiting on a house.
You got deadlines to meet and stuff like that. I mean, I've got 2 buyers right now that we can't get these houses finished because we couldn't get cabinets.
And that sounds, people will laugh at that, and we're kind of chuckling about it.
Yeah.
But it's a real problem.
Yeah.
The supply chain issue, it's not just cabinet plywood. It's not just 2x4s.
Fabricators. I mean, I couldn't find fabricators.
It's
for
people
cabinets.
people to build it, people to install it. It's the supply chain issue is running through materials. It's running through labor. It's running through everything. And at some point, we're going to have to figure out, but
it's a focus issue too. I think that it's going to be a focus issue because people are, I mean, even me at some point, I'll sit there and I'll watch the news and I'll look through all of it and I'll read it and everything. And that's, I mean, it's good to be informed and stuff like that, but it's not good to make that your focus all day long, or
Yeah.
let it ruin your day, because
Yeah.
now I'm not working on things that I should be doing in order to
Yeah.
improve
Yeah.
the office or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. And I
Yeah.
think that that's social media, or not so much social media, but just the access to all of this information is overwhelming us on an emotional level.
You're drinking out of a fire
And-
hose every day now.
Right. So it's exhausting us mentally.
Yeah.
And if you're depressed, or if you're, if you don't feel motivated, it's
Yeah.
it's affecting our motivation. Really, it's demoralizing
Well,
to an extent. And I think that's probably and then
it's
you get-
constantly in your face.
Oh yeah, and then you get a lot of people that are just so focused on all of these things. They're doing protests, and that's their life now. Is they the cancel culture and everything. You say one thing and everything just explodes. And I mean, we're so involved in that right now that I think, I mean, it's like anything. Something has to give. Well, our economy is giving right now.
A lot of other
Our
things
economy
are
is
being
hurting.
neglected.
Yeah, exactly. We're not focusing on the things that we should be focusing on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the things that I think we as individuals need to get back to the basics, and
we
back
do.
to,
We do.
listen, I got to live.
Yeah,
I got to live
Gotta make a
healthy
living.
life.
You got to make a living.
And I mean, I get the overall picture. I get it. Everybody wants to be informed, but at the same time, you have to worry about your backyard.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, if you
do.
focus on your backyard, then everything else doesn't matter.
Mm.
So I always have to worry about what's going on in my backyard. And if I do that, then the rest of it will kind of just work itself out. I don't know.
And we're not just talking about the dog digging under the fence either.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it than that. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff. We could go on and on about this one. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're gonna kind
We
of
need
start
to get back to the basics.
Yeah.
I think that as an individually, we need to just get back to the basics and start to live,
Amen.
so that we can continue to be the land of milk and honey, and not this crazy land.
Indeed. Let's get back to work and get back to what matters for sure. Well, if you've got a home that you want to list for sale, if you're looking to purchase a home, we got a few we could show you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right
We got
now.
195 right now.
We got, and some of them are our listings too. we got a few. So anyway, if you're in the market to buy or sell, we'd certainly love to help you out. It's Strategic Realty, Wichita Falls, Texas. strategicrealty.net is the website. The phone number is
940-689-7900.
She does it better than I do. And again, strategicrealty.net. So if you're looking to buy or sell, if you just got questions, we can answer them. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to us. We'll be glad to talk to you and answer some questions for you.
If you're interested in a foreclosure, definitely give us a call.
Yeah,
We're going to start having a bunch of them.
There's going to be a few of those too. So whether you're looking to be a homeowner, owner-occupant, or if you're an investor even, whatever your desire is, whatever it is that you're looking to buy for whatever purpose, give us a call. Let us help you out. Again, strategicrealty.net. I want to say thank you to Terry and Lucy McAdams, MacTech Solutions, for allowing us the studio space to record this. We appreciate that very much. It's kind of comfortable in here.
Yeah.
Especially when the air conditioning comes on. It got a little toasty in here earlier. Anyway, we appreciate them very much for allowing us to come here and do this. We try to do it every week, so we look forward to seeing you next time with another episode of Strategic Moves with Lou. Until then, take care of yourselves. We will see you down the road.